Invite us to speak here today. I'd like to start off by saying that a lot of the sentiments from Sean from the architectural side on the pros and cons would be shared by us from the civil and structural side. I suppose I'd just like to give you a brief introduction to ourselves, what BIM means to Arup. We'll look at some sample projects that we've done, both civil and structural, just to broaden the whole, like BIM can be used in civil projects as well, so I'd just like to show you some of those. And falling off from BIM, just other applications that we've stumbled on as almost byproducts of the models produced in BIM. My own background, I'm Associate Director with Arup in Cork, so it's my role since 2005, or one of them, has been to promote BIM in Arup. We started on small projects in 2005 and we've built up since then. Start on structural projects, and as I say, we've grown our scope into civil projects as well. We're a worldwide organisation with 10,000 people in 90 offices, and we work quite closely with other offices, even from Ireland. In Ireland we have 4 offices in Cork, Dublin, Limerick and Galway, 350 staff, and I suppose we're slowly bringing the staff up to the what's required to work on BIM projects. Scope services go right away from concept to development, design, construction, operation. Facilities management is becoming a big part of our business, and certainly BIM we see has a big role there. I suppose our objective in Arup is to maximise the potential of available software to deliver a quality project utilising building information modelling. To us, the software you use isn't the key, it's the process. Although the software we do use today is also Revit, but we use 3D Studio Max, 3D Civil, Dynamite, VSP. We'll look at various examples of those on the projects. But the key, I think, is the process rather than the software. What does it mean to us? To us, BIM means one coordinated model, one source of information. You put everything into that model. You put your 3D topographical surveys and you make a digital terrain model from those. You put all your site information, your building information, your environmental information, your infrastructure. You link in GIS, which we'll look at later. 3D GIS, you use your model to output into 4D and 5D operations. Facilities management, site management, mass motion, how people use your buildings, and real-time visualizations for presentations to clients and other people. I think at the core is the central one model, one coordinated model. All the various software feeds into that model, and all the various people in the project, from architects to services engineers, civil engineers and structural engineers. One model is key. You have all your contractors, your design team, your client, your stakeholder feeding into that model and taking information out of that model, and that's very important. Okay, some sample projects. I'm not looking at the pros and cons, I'm just really looking at what we've done, just to give you an example of what can be done, I suppose. One of the projects I worked on is the Douglas Shopping Centre in Cork. It was modelled in Revit, all structural elements modelled in Revit structure, all services modelled in Revit MEP, and all the underground services modelled in Civil 3D. Can you see the screen, guys? Are we okay? Here we can see the close integration of services with the structure. This particular project we had cell beams, so close coordination of services and structure was very important to maximise the benefit of using cell beams. Everything was modelled, the cladding, services, underground services, all civils, the roads, all modelled in one overall model. Excuse me. We worked very closely with the facade engineer, so all secondary steel was also modelled and generally worked out very well. Would have been one of our first, probably large-scale projects that we used BIM on. The Abu Dhabi airport is a very good example of where offices from different countries can work on one project. In this particular project, the building services were designed in Manchester, the structure was designed in Germany, the services were modelled in Cork. This is just an example of the model showing the structure integrated with the services. This is just a closer view of all the building services, from piping to containment to equipment, all spatially modelled and coordinated within one model, and all reviewed, I think, through Navisworks, which is an important reviewing and clash detection tool. As I say, this was all done on offices in different countries and worked very well. Just some projects from Dublin, which again would be Revit structure, the UCD Science Building, Airport Control Tower, Galway Clinic, and the TCD Biosciences. Again, all done in Revit, all coordinated, you know, clash detected, everything done in the office before you go to site. This building we're in was actually one of our own projects. Delighted to say it worked out very well. It was all modelled. Basically, it was obviously a challenge from the shapes and the requirements of the architect. So modelling was really essential to get that right. And I suppose not only was the structure modelled, but all the services were modelled as well. This is just a view of the integration of the structure and the architectural model. Getting the geometry right was probably the biggest challenge in this building with the requirements of the architect. What you probably don't see in any building is you know, the building services that go behind it. And again, these were all modelled for this particular building. And one big challenge in this building was, okay, it was very heavily serviced, but particularly in the auditorium areas, you know, hearing those services was not an option. So the overall coordination and fitting them into the space, it was, you know, it was vital that it was 3D modelled. It worked out well. I suppose our beginnings in BIM were on building projects, and probably would guess that most people here are from buildings background. But it's important to realise that it has uses in the civil world as well. I suppose we started on our buildings in about 2005, and about 2008 we started seeing how we could progress into the civil side of things with BIM and modelling and just whole site models. So one project we worked on was the N17-18 bridge in Galway, where very simply the client just wanted a model to see, you know, what the bridge would look like when finished. So it was a good starting point for us, because I think it's important that you start small and build on as you go along and bring your staff with you. So it was a good starting point to see what we could do. The bridge itself would have been modelled in Revit structure, and the environment would have been modelled in Civil 3D. Moving on from that, we got another project in Longford for a railway bridge, where we enhanced our scope of service. And in this particular project, we took the 2D or 3D site topographic information and created a digital terrain model. We used this model to basically model the railway, model the road, and eventually get the optimum design for a bridge which linked both, essentially. What you see in front of you is an extract from Civil 3D with a map overlaid, just so you pick up, you know, rivers, streams, what you know, it highlights to you before you even go to site the difficulties you have to deal with. Just some of the drawings and 3D views. But basically, the byproduct of the whole lot was a bridge that was optimized in design and worked with the road and the railway, which was very important, but we knew that it did before you went to site and had to start making tweaks on site, which, as we all know, are very expensive, particularly on civil projects. Another project we worked on was the M20 Cork to Limerick motorway. Here again, we created a digital terrain model. As you can see here, it's based from the topographic survey. It's overlaid with aerial photograph. The road is modelled in Civil 3D, and the bridge is modelled in Revit structure. It's all spatially coordinated, and it's accurate. It's not just a presentation or a montage. It's an accurate model, which is important. On the back of that, our client asks us, okay, we have all this information model, what can we do with it? Can you do photo montages for me? Yes, we can. So basically we link a GPS camera to take photographs, put them into our model, and produce a before and an after. Now this is not just a presentation view of the bridge, this is the actual model of the bridge, so it's accurate. Again, another before and another after. So I think it's a good example of where, BIM can help us offer different services, because before this we would have gone external to do photo montages. We didn't need to in this project. The Swords Underground Interchange is another challenging underground interchange that again really needed to be BIM or 3D modelled, both. Pretty complicated underground structure. Just a view of it. Again, this would have been modelled in Civil 3D, and the